I'm not a billionaire. I probably won't be a billionaire for a long time unless there's massive inflation in the future. But the idea of wealth to me is interesting because pretty much I know that if I was rich, I would be willing to sacrifice some of my wealth for security. So here's the topic today: revolutions. What it would take for a communist revolution to happen. All right, friends, so essentially there's one critical aspect of a revolution. The people have to be restive, very prone to violence. There also needs to be an elite fracture, or at least some potential elites prevented from getting their position. And in the case of a communist revolution, what is required is, in order for the communist revolution to succeed and actually take power, are two things. Labor has to be irrelevant, so no one is required to work, but essentially no one can earn a wage without being part of the capitalist class. So that means capitalism has automated all of its labor, and price has to cease to be a signal. So prices no longer make sense anymore. They're completely illogical. They don't follow any rhyme or reason. There's no valuation inherent. So it ends up with a capitalist elite with all productive power, all labor power, all kinds of power, all the resources they need, unlimited resources, enough power to produce anything, and a population with nothing. This would be a horrible situation because, unless the capitalist elite are willing to give up part of their assets, it's inevitable that there will be conflict, and if they don't redistribute a substantial portion of their income from their assets, then it's inevitable that communism will give way. So why are those conditions required for communism? I mentioned it earlier. Because the capitalist elite have everything, and the working class can't even have a wage anymore. There's going to be mass starvation unless something is done. And eventually, pretty much the seizure of the means of production will occur in a manner that is consistent with higher taxation that's almost confiscatory. And nobody wants that. Everyone wants a system where people earn wages and rich people are left alone to, buy new yachts or whatever. If I was rich, I would want to be left alone too. But what matters more is social stability. Obviously, if the only barriers to wealth are political rather than economic, social class won't be eliminated. The new elites eventually will be the government who's in charge of administering the new taxes on the upper class income, as nearly 100% of their income is appropriated to feed the lower class. So the problem with that is that we solved the problem of social class. There's no disparities with regards to wealth, but there is disparities with regards to political power, because some people have to administer the complex organizations unless we decentralize that to AI, which would be suicidal if we did. So all of those conditions make it dangerous. The next level of development, communism, will be either luxury communism, a stateless, classless utopia, or a more authoritarian style, where a vanguard elite takes power. But in that case, if a vanguard elite takes power, they become the new ruling class, and they're not going to give up their power without a revolution. So the communist revolution may require AI to administer all sorts of income redistribution, managing resources for a population in a complex detail. It has to do that with accounting for changing demand, changing supply, changing conditions, where population expands and contracts, so there's no overproduction or underproduction. This is a huge undertaking that I don't know if it's easy to resolve. But, AI luxury communism isn't necessarily what people consider to be a good thing. And as long as labor is relevant, it's impossible. And the reason why labor is needed to be eliminated for communism to be achieved is because what is communism? A classless society. When there's work, someone is subordinated. There has to be orders for work, and someone has to take orders, and other people have to do the work. So if workers are required, then there's no way you can get rid of hierarchy. So that's pretty much my thoughts for the day. I hope this is helpful.